Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, Ministers, Delegates and friends. I'm being asked to stand up, so I will. Technical issues aside, may I say how genuinely delighted I am to join you on behalf of the United Kingdom today. This demonstrates our country, the United Kingdom's huge value that we attach to our relationships, indeed our friendships across the Americas. And may I also put on record our sincere thanks to you, Foreign Minister Ramirez, and the Paraguayan government for someone who arrived at 5:30 a.m. this morning. I very much enjoyed the hospitality of Paraguay, and you've even thrown on some proper British weather as well, so thank you for all of that. Indeed, we continue to work very closely on the great global issues of the day. As we've heard today through various sessions on security, on issues of climate change, and indeed sustainable development. With so many areas of shared interest and endeavour, this Assembly, as we join here together, is an opportunity to do even more, forge even greater, stronger ties. When it comes to Argentina in particular, my dear friend Lord Cameron and President Milei enjoyed a very warm and cordial meeting at Davos earlier this year. They set out their support for a more constructive relationship between our two countries, with greater cooperation in areas of shared interest, including trade, education, and climate, with particular welcome efforts to lower tensions in the South Atlantic. And we have been working with Argentina to re-establish sensible, practical cooperation in the region to the benefit of everyone, to the benefit of all. However, Lord Cameron and President Milei agreed to disagree, politely of course, when it comes to the future of the Falkland Islands. We are clear, our resolute support for the Falkland Islanders' right of self-determination, which remains unchanged. Only they, Secretary General, Your Excellencies, should decide their future. And in the referendum they held in 2013, they overwhelmingly chose to retain their status as a self-governing UK overseas territory. 5 of the 6 international observers of that referendum came from the OAS member countries, with their report noting that it was free, it was fair, reflecting the true democratic will of voters, a fundamental cornerstone of this organisation. The Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, visited the Falkland Islands in February, and also my ministerial colleague, David Rutley, who many know in this room well, has also twice visited. They saw for themselves the thriving fundamental democracy, the community that has been built with their own constitution, their own laws, and indeed their own traditions. And quite rightly, the elected representatives of the Falkland Islands make the decisions that affect themselves, their communities. Reference has been made today to resolutions and to certain regional statements of support for sovereignty negotiations. None of these modify or dilute the obligation of nations to respect the legally binding principle of self-determination, enshrined in the United Nations Charter and the United Nations Covenants on Human Rights. Let me be clear, the UK has no doubt about our sovereignty over the Falkland Islands, South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, and indeed the surrounding maritime areas. We also have no doubt about the principle and the right of self-determination enshrined in the UN Charter and in Article 1 of the 2 UN Covenants on Human Rights, a right by virtue of which Falkland Islanders can freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social and cultural development. The United Kingdom therefore asks that the General Assembly takes note of the islanders' right of self-determination and that this statement be read into the record of this meeting. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, thank you ever so much for this opportunity.